All right, this week on Camera Talk, our favorite island out there, at least in camera land anyway, Japan. Back to Japan. This week we're taking a look at a classic vintage Nikon lens. It's a Nikkor 50mm 1.4 pre-AI. That's right, there was no auto index happening here. So, was it any good? Is it still any good? Let's take a look at it together, right? So come on down, let's get you some.
Here I am, Vietnam. Rain is always coming down.
This is Camera Talk with Dr. Scott and Dylan. That's right. Mr. Dylan and I are back this week, taking a trip back in time to another vintage lens. This one produced by Nikon. It's been a while since we covered any Nikon lenses. Has it? I think the last one we did was the 28mm, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, this week we're looking at the Nikkor 50mm 1.4. And, you know, this is a vintage lens from mid-70s.
Our goal in the 70s was to destroy disco.
Actually, it was produced between 74 and 76. And by the serial number, it looks like this one was 1975-ish. Could be late 74, early 75. The 50mm 1.4 was nothing new to Nikon. They were actually the very first ones to produce a 50mm 1.4. That's right, 1950. 1950, 50mm. Sounds coincidental, doesn't it? But anyway, but Nikon was also the first to develop an SLR. And for those who have a DSLR, the digital version, you know what that is with the mirror. Boop. Single lens reflex is what the acronym stands for. And they developed the first one of those in 1959. And again, so the killer lens was actually designed for rangefinders. But it wasn't until 1959 when they put some of their good glass onto their new invention.
And now for something completely different,
Which was the SLR. But it did not have a 1.4. It had a 50mm f2, which was pretty standard in the day. Everybody else was producing f2s also as what you would call a kit lens at the time. So, anyway, but jumping ahead, there's a lot of variations of the 50mm. Nikon also did the 55 and the 58mm. They're all called standard. They're classified as standard lenses. But the 50, kind of right in the middle of it all, right? The 1.4 was sought after for the speed. You know, it was great for, you know, collecting light. And I was out with Dylan a little earlier today in the garden, roaming around, taking shots of him. And I kind of got a taste for that too, the one at 1.4 wide open. Man, it was way blown out. I had to increase my shutter speed up to 8,000 and exposure, bringing everything down as dark as possible, and it still kind of made it just about right. And then once I bumped it up to f2 and 2.8, then things were looking a little more rosy, weren't they? Right? So, but anyway, I like shooting things wide open when I can, just to show you, the audience, what it looks like wide open. So anyway, Nikkor, you know, as you can see on the, well, you can't see it from there, but I'll show you a picture here. If you see on the faceplate, it says Nikkor, and Nikkor was their brand name for their glass. It's kind of where Topcore got the idea, a little borrowed, you know, branding from that era. But Nikkor was used all the way until the 1970s. It started in 1932, and you know, the name of the company before it was Nikon. was Nippon Kogaku. Killer accent, huh? So I sound just like I'm turning Japanese.
I'm turning Japanese, I think I'm turning Japanese, I really think so.
But they used that all the way until the 1970s when they started using Nikon, which is on the nameplate here, Nikon. And they also had, before this line, also used alpha designators for the number of elements in the lens as well. Mid 70s, they dropped using the alpha designator as well as using Nikkor. So everything became Nikon and Nikon AI and Nikon AIS. And the AI, of course, stands for auto indexing, which is again another Nikon innovation with their cameras. And each one of these, like this one's a pre-AI, this one could be modified to an AI so that it works with any modern camera after that fact. So some of the specs on these, and this one's in pristine condition. I mean, if I look at the, or if you could look, you know, at the, like the writing on here, lens made in Japan and all the markers, everything's like brand new, even though this is, you know, it's a 40-something-year-old lens. And, you know, everything is pristine on it. The glass is pristine, the writing's pristine, the plastic, not a nick anywhere on it. There's no wear and tear anywhere on this thing, which was why I bought it, you know, from the seller for that purpose, because it was so well maintained. But anyway, you know, it's got great colors, it's got great build. I mean, the focusing ring, one finger for something this old. I mean, yeah, you can maybe hear, you know, somewhere on it, some rubbing, I guess you would say. But you can still, with one finger, change the focusing ring. You know, I have a Nikon to NEX adapter from K&F Concept. So I can use my Sony A7R II to make use of these. And that's the best thing about, you know, vintage lenses is, you know, you can adapt any of these things as long as you have an adapter onto a mirrorless camera. So all these lenses which we thought were, and this is why this thing was sat in a box for so many years, because digital age came along and they thought, well, we'll never use these things again. Nobody wants to use film anymore. But you can use them in on your mirrorless camera and with some outstanding results. So again, the specs on this thing is 7 elements in 5 groups. It's close focus. Not the greatest in the world, but it's not, as you know, it's 60 centimeters. My rangefinder 70 centimeters, so it's this much closer. It's got 7 aperture blades, which for Nikon and a lot of the Japanese manufacturers is actually 1 more than usual. Usually they do 6, so 7 is actually pretty good, right? And it's heavy. It's not that heavy. It's about 308 grams. I mean, it's all metal, you know, except for the hardened rubber focus ring and the aperture ring. But everything else is all metal on it. So great build, super colors, sharpness, wide open, but stop down a little bit, like I'll show you with Dylan's pictures here at f2, you know, and from 1.4 to f2, big difference. 2.8, big difference. You know, it gets sharper as it stops down. Now this thing can compete with today's lenses. You know, Nikon builds their stuff in China, little plastic lenses that they charge a ton of money for.
No way.
This thing can compete with those. It's got great bokeh. I mean, it's not wild and you think, oh my God, look what's going on in the background. It kind of blends off into the background, and you know, it's very pleasing, I guess would be the word for it.
Rich, smooth, buttery bokeh.
Let's show you some photos. I usually take a picture of the Canon M50, which is what I use to record these videos, and I focus in on the nameplate on the end of the 15 to 45 EFM lens and see how sharp the writing, I can get the writing on the end of the nameplate. So let's do that. But obviously I don't need my shutter speed at 8,000 anymore, like I told you when I was outside. So let's bring that down. 200's about good, right? Yeah. Let's get our exposure back to normal. All right, everything's looking good again. Okay. So what I do is I take a picture of the writing on the end of the nameplate, and we see how sharp I can get with it. All right, so this is wide open at 1.4. So 1, 2, 3. All right, and let's look at 5.6. Why not, right? Why not 5.6? So let's do that. And again, let's bring that up a little bit. Are you ready, mister? All right, so let's see. Oh, hold on. Let's see how tight we could get it here. That looks pretty good. So 0 focus shift. 1, 2, 3. All right. So that was at 1.4 and 5.6. So, pretty sharp, yeah? So let me show you some pictures of this guy, because I know that's what he's waiting for. He's like a future model, wants to see himself as much as possible. He watches these YouTube videos like all day long, like camera talk. Seeing himself on the internet is quite a thrill. So here's Dylan at 1.4. All right, what do you think, Stinky? Did that look good? All right, well, here's Dylan at f2 and 2.8. And how about some random stuff? We always throw in some random stuff, right? Just to show the people out there something other than you, even though I'm sure everybody tunes in just to see you. But, you know, how about some flowers and butterflies and trees and maybe ponds or cars, who knows? Excuse me. So here's some random stuff at F, whatever. Okay, so that was the random stuff and everything. As you may notice, Dylan's a little quiet today. He just woke up from his nap about 15 minutes ago. Well, 15 minutes before we started this video, anyway. And so he's a little groggy. Oh, did you enjoy your nap? I hope so. Daddy didn't get to have a nap. But anyway, so that was the lens. It's pretty economical, at least I think so. Anyway, I think I bought it for maybe 50 bucks, maybe 60 bucks, something like that. You can maybe find it a better deal, or maybe prices have gone up since then. You know, I did buy mine, you know, more than a year ago, but 2 years ago. Anyway, how about our little plug for Luminar, right? The photo editing software that we use. So Luminar AI and Luminar Neo are the two versions of Luminar that I use. They have all kinds of bells and whistles, just like Lightroom and Capture One and Photoshop and everything else. Actually, they have features that those guys don't even have yet. They're very big into artificial intelligence. We like that kind of intelligence, right? The artificial kind. And the price is probably the best part of it all. It's about 80 bucks, buying it brand new. But if you click below, right? Click below, you can get yourself a $10 discount. So why not, right? If you buy a copy of it from our link in the description below, you'll save yourself 10 bucks, and it's only 70 bucks. And then we get a little kickback from that, right? Kickback. Yeah!
$1 million.
And Dylan can save up his millions and buy as many cookies as he wants, right? Right? Yeah. He's like, don't involve me in whatever your weird plans are, Daddy. What else can we say about that? It also supports Skylum, who's the producer of Luminar, who is dealing with Putin and his crappy gang in Ukraine. So it helps support them. So it's amazing that they're actually still developing this software while bombs are falling and their country's being ransacked in the East anyway. So kudos to them. Good luck to them. Hope they get through this unscathed, and hopefully Russia just gives up, goes back home, right? But anywho, what else can we say? How about you support our channel, right? We want some support from everybody. So if you could please subscribe. Dylan, want to do this hand? Subscribe. And how about together? Put your fingers up. No, first finger, this one. And subscribe. That's right. And besides subscribers, what else does YouTube like? The thumbs up, right? Yeah, we like the thumbs up girls. Well, he likes the thumbs up girl. He likes the blonde one in the front. So how about we do a little thumbs up? Thumbs up. Do 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 do. Thumbs up. And if you give us a thumbs up, he would greatly appreciate it. Gives us an excuse to show that little clip every week. And who are we? Well, besides Dr. Scott and Dylan, we are Modesty Photography. And we're here to talk about tips and tricks about photography and talk about vintage lenses and vintage-ish stuff like cameras. This M9 is from 2009, so it's bordering on the vintage world, even though it's still a viable camera. And other just things about photography. Or if you want to talk about something else, go ahead and leave a suggestion in the comment box, and we'll see what we can do. So I think that was pretty much about it, right? And how's doing? Some of those who may have watched our previous couple of episodes may know that that Dylan was dealing with a little virus from school, the old dreaded hand, foot, and mouth virus. Ew! Which resulted in spots, right? Got little spots. See those spots on his arm? Got little spots over here. Oh, those ones are kind of faded away more. But anyway, he's over it now. These things will, I guess, go away in the next week or so. But poor him. He goes back to school. Not tomorrow. I got to keep him home one more day. Then he goes back on Wednesday. Yay! Back to school. And Daddy can have more free time again. I mean, what time is it now? 4 o'clock in the afternoon. See, normally I'd be kind of getting on the motorcycle and
That's what I'm talking about.
driving off to go pick him up from school. But anyway, so we can thank people for dropping by, right? Thanks for watching. Dylan says, thanks for subscribing and the thumbs up. And why should people come back next week? Because you belong here, right? That's right. Where do they belong? What's the name of the show? What's the name of the show? This was Camera Talk with Dr. Scott. And who? And Dylan, that's right. So again, thanks for dropping by. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for the thumbs up. And we will see you next week. We release one of these every Friday, so we'll see you then. Have a super week. Stay away from the old illnesses that are out there, you know, the COVIDs and the monkeypoxes and polios, and my God, the world's falling apart. So, it's actually good to be in Vietnam, isn't it? We're kind of relatively protected over here. So, thanks for dropping by. All right, say bye-bye. All right, bye-bye.
Here I am in Vietnam.